Hey everyone, this is Isaiah Ritchie with the American Man Podcast, and this is your 5-day look back. Today is Saturday, February 15th. A lot going on this week. We'll start out with Trump's reciprocal tariffs. So, Trump has campaigned a lot on tariffs, and he has now ordered that tariffs shall be placed on any country, essentially, that places tariffs on us in the same amount. So, the libertarian in me always kind of frowns when I hear about tariffs. I believe in fair market, fair trade, all those things. But there's a practical aspect to this, which is in a world where some countries still allow slave trade, in a country where some countries, force their young citizens, their children to work. Is it really fair trade? Right. I think the issue that you run into with just saying open markets, free markets, everything is that we are working off of a disadvantage, and in a sense, we're promoting those things. If we're buying goods from a country that uses slave labor or child labor, that type of thing, then we are supporting those things. I don't think there's a way to get around that. So I think tariffs in terms of penalizing countries that engage in those things. I understand that will make things more expensive for me, but I would rather buy a shirt that was made in a country without child labor than buy a shirt that was made in a country with child labor. Now there's arguments out there that says, well, those kids then won't have jobs and they'll starve to death. I think in the long run, a country will be better if its economy cannot be supported using child labor, and its population won't be supported by using child labor, and they have to adapt. And so I know that it's a difficult topic, and I know it's difficult to buy only from countries that don't utilize child labor or slave labor. I know there's a lot of categories of things. Electronics are one of the big ones. It's hard to buy anything electronic that doesn't come from China, um, and that's difficult. Um, I'm equally as suspicious of companies that say, uh, even though it was made in a country that utilizes child labor, we have a fair labor factory and things like that. I still see that as supporting those countries, particularly when it's China, when all companies are essentially controlled by a central government. It's the same place. So I think these tariffs are going to be a good thing. I think it's going to drive costs up, but I think it's going to drive quality of life up along with it. And I believe that our wages will increase somewhat proportionally because the goods that we're making here will now be worth more and we'll be able to compete. So tariffs are, again, it's a tough situation for particularly libertarians. A lot of conservatives, fall on either side of this, but there it is. Second up, we've seen a lot more of the, I'll just call it the DOGE party. Boy, I mean, if what the reports are all saying are true, even partially, what we have been paying for, whether through U.S. aid, whether through the State Department, whether through Department of Education, um, is just absurd. It's just absurd. And, I don't mind paying taxes if those taxes are going towards things that I, approve of. But boy, I've just seen so many stories, of supporting, some LGBTQ thing in Peru or whatever. I don't go into the specifics. I just see the headlines, and even if you're supportive of those types of things, why are we doing it all across the world, and um, those types of things should not be coming from the average taxpayer's dollars. If there are, nonprofit groups that want to raise money to support those, I'm fully supportive of that. Take your hard-earned money and send it to a cause that you believe in, but don't force me to pay for that. Now, there's a small counter argument to, simply shutting off foreign aid, that I recognize, and I think it's important to acknowledge, which is when you shut off foreign aid, there creates a void, and something will fill that void. And right now, that something is China or Russia, or other countries that are, hostile towards us. So I think it's important that we don't just shut everything off. I'm not that libertarian. I'm a little bit more pragmatic, I think, when it comes to, we should still support our allies, in some manners. I don't think it's wrong to help build hospitals, roads, schools in, third world countries. I would like to do less of it. I'd like to do more, teach a man to fish versus give a man a fish. But, if we have to do something, make it something that is, worthwhile infrastructure or whatever that is. Because otherwise, there are other people out there in the world who will come in and will do those things. And then we have more countries who look towards those, look towards China, look towards Russia for assistance. And, it's a geopolitical issue. There's no doubt about it. It's not as simple as we'll just turn off the faucet and nothing else should ever go out again, ever. We do live in a global society. We have to recognize that. We have to understand that there are some areas where we need to spend some money, if it's, for the sole purpose of stopping someone else from spending the money there. That being said, I'm excited to see how far they can go. The DOGE party, there's a lot of outcry that says, well, they're not elected. These people are just, coming in, they're unelected. They're doing all these things. They can't do that, shouldn't do that. You know what? All those employees and departments who are spending this money, they're unelected too. So I don't have a problem with that. There's a point where, it becomes unconstitutional, or it becomes, and I always try to consider, what would I be saying or thinking, if the other party was doing this, right? And yeah, well, as long as they were cutting waste, that would be fine. And it seems like the other party, was doing this through these different departments. They were just doing it in ways that benefited them. Um, and so, I'll just leave it at that. I don't have a problem with it so far, but it's, there might be a time where I say, well, this has gone too far. I don't think we can be so blind to just say anything that Trump does ever is great, or anything Elon does ever is great, right? So you can disagree with some things, but also agree with some of the other things. And right now, I agree with a lot of these cuts that are being made. If employees want to take, this layoff, not layoff, but this buyout, I mean, that's an 8-month, free pay. Find another job, double dip, whatever you want. Take an 8-month vacation. I don't think there's anything wrong with offering that, and reducing the size of our federal workforce. We are a nation in, over $30 trillion of debt. And if we can do some things to cut that debt, I'm all for it. So last, big topics this week. We did have the Senate confirmations of Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. That sort of rounds out Trump's cabinet of controversial picks. I laugh about, the controversy, because, if you had told someone 15, 20 years ago that there was going to come a time when we had, Donald Trump, RFK, a Kennedy, and, a former, Hawaiian representative as, some of our main politicians, you would have assumed that a Democrat had won. right? But because they are bucking the norm, because they are, sort of become the anti-establishment, now they are part of the Republican Party. And I think that's interesting. As for the appointments themselves, the argument I keep hearing from Democrats or from the left is really that they're unqualified. They don't have the experience necessary. Um, I even read a newspaper article that you know sort of chided Tulsi Gabbard for being a non-interventionist, um, as though it's a good thing to be an interventionist. I don't agree with that. I don't think we should be getting involved in everything. And I think most Americans don't really want to be getting involved in everything. So I actually think that's a good thing. I hope we do continue our you know, uh, more recent trend of non-intervention. We'll see where it goes. As for RFK Jr., I can't understand how anyone with a straight face can look at the health of our country, an average American, go to a Walmart for, I mean, 5 minutes, and you are going to see how unhealthy this country is. So, they really attacked him over his stance on vaccines. And look, people can say anything they want during these confirmation hearings. So RFK Jr. obviously said the right things. He said, no, I'm not going to take away anyone's vaccines. I just want it to be more transparent. I want, people to understand what's in them, and I want to do studies on them. And if he's, being honest about that, great. I think there are, plenty of vaccines that are super helpful, have done wonderful things, have done really amazing things in this world to make life better for everyone. At the same time, do we really need all of them? And do we need them so young? And should we have, companies, huge pharmaceutical companies that are immune from liability, and they are advertising about these on television, and trying to convince people to get more of these? I think that's gone too far, right? So, available tool, great. Something that we're pressured to take, in some instances forced to take, I disagree. And I hope that RFK Jr. can really open the doors to studies, to just transparency and what we're actually taking and putting in our bodies that have permanent effects. So, I I'm doing a fast right now, and I would like to see more government funding for studies for alternative health. It seems like all the studies, all the FDA approved things, they come from pharmaceutical companies. Why can't we have FDA approved clinical studies about the effect of vitamin C, or the effect of fasting, or other supplements? And that's the problem with with the internet. We get so many supplements and nutrition, and this miracle product does this, and then it has all these disclaimers on it, right? And you just get sucked into it because none of them can really get approved by any legitimate body, and they all say they do different things, and they all say they're wonderful. All these holistic medicines and things like that, and maybe some of them are, but we don't know because the market's flooded with them, and we don't really have a way of measuring which ones are which. I would love it if RFK Jr. and his role, the Department of Health, would open that up, because I think we do need more research on alternatives to pharmaceuticals and drugs. So that's your 5 day look back. That's the big topics that happened this week. So hopefully you hopefully you take something from it.